Okay, we're back on. Okay, we're back on.
Maybe I start all over again.
Yeah, you can, because I started the recording. Yeah, thank you so much. Ooh. No.
No, Chris, sorry.
Is she in the bathroom? Oh. Oh, okay.
Okay, let's start it all over again. Thank you for the patience and appreciate attending today. Aloha those online. I, Christine Kuwan, Chair of the South Kohala Committee, Action Committee, will call this meeting to order. It is Thursday, August 21, 2025. It is now 5:07 p.m. This meeting is held in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. As a reminder, per the Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them except for minors in their location. Please note for anyone needing the meeting packet, there is a QR code on the last page of the agenda that you can scan to access it. At this time, we'll take a roll call and introductions by myself as the chair, committee members, Vice Chair Scott Nagata.
Here.
Committee member Karen Anderson. Karen online?
No, she's not at this time.
Okay. Committee member Josephine Tanimoto.
Here,
Josephine, do you have any, by chance, an ability to put your camera on?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you have ability to put your camera on? For the Sunshine Law, I stated that if you are joining in interactive conference technology, that the AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on.
I
Does
don't-
your digital device have camera access?
I don't understand what that's all about.
Jojo, to participate, to show that you're an action committee member
Got it.
present,
Yes,
are you able to turn on your camera to visibly show that you are joining via interactive conference technologies?
yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. Thank you. If you could continue to keep that on and thank you everybody for abiding by the Sunshine Law. Committee member Julia Alos. Committee member Kevin McLaughlin.
Here.
Thank you. Committee member Bandy La. Thank you. Welcome on board. Committee member Owana Wilcox. Thank you and welcome on board as well. And I am the chair, Christine Kuwan. We have a quorum to hold this meeting. Absent today's meeting is committee member Ruth Smith. From the county official staff, from the planning department, planning staff Miriam Palma, Jessica Lahit, and Janice Kata. Some housekeeping. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off or on silent mode. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the sign-up form and give it to our staff. Zoom testifiers can send a message in the chat to the Zoom indicating which item they wish to testify on. We ask that everyone please state your name before speaking. To all of us who are attending here in person, please remember to speak for the owl camera microphone so everyone on the Zoom can hear. Aloha etiquette for today's meeting. Maintain an open and positive attitude. Listen to understand. Everyone has the right to share and be comfortable with their own ideas. It's okay to disagree as long as it is done respectfully. If you need to argue, argue the issue and not against a person. One person speaks at a time with no side conversations. Limit distractions by turning cell phones off and not doing outside work during a meeting. And in appreciation of everyone's time, please honor time limits. Thank you. At this time, I will introduce the meeting minutes. 5:11, the committee will now consider approving the May 15, 2025 meeting minutes. May I ask for a motion to approve the May 15, 2025 meeting minutes as circulated? Scott makes a motion. Is there a second? There's a second by Bambi. All those in favor say. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion. I need to retract, sorry. Now I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Is there any, now moving forward, we will continue with the public testimony on the agenda items. At this time, it is 5:12 p.m. The committee will now call for statements from the public as stated in the published agenda. Members of the public may provide public testimony regarding any agenda item now or at the time the agenda item is called to order. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the form on the table in the front by the staff. Anyone here who gave a in-person testimony? Okay, hearing none, we can continue with the agenda.
Oh, wait, this is on the civil defense, Trustee, sorry.
We didn't get there yet, but we can continue to move on to the agenda. The next item, and just to keep in mind, as a reminder for testifiers to keep the timeliness of their discussion. The next business item at this time is 5:13. Committee will now move on business item number 1, which is Civil Defense Agency update. A representative from Civil Defense will share updates regarding the county hazards mitigation plan and future emergency preparedness plans as it relates to South Kohala.
But see the stand?
There's a nice mustard colored chair in front of you. That's not too bad.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thomas Bragdon with the White House of the Phones. So thanks for the opportunity, to share with you guys what we've been working on. Multi-hazard mitigation plan gets reviewed every 5 years. So, the current one expires late September of next month. And so we started work, late last year on this current revision. We got a second draft that was approved by FEMA already. And State Emergency Management has that draft right now, so we're waiting for them to approve it and should meet the timeline as far as next September. The multi-hazard mitigation plan basically outlines all the different hazards that we face on Hawaii Island. We did a number of community outreach. Both internally within the government, the community, both west side and the east side, and we attempt to get as much input from the community as possible. So we did have some input from all of the areas of the island. And the plan comes up with, basically we ask people, what do you think you're vulnerable to? What is your worst fears as far as disasters on the island? And we work together to see what kind of mitigations we can come up with, or that people, both the community and the government can provide. And so there's about 42 different critical items that are listed. Some are specific projects, such as the Department of Water supply. Lists their reservoirs in Kohala as needing some work, so those are some projects. There's also general projects listed that address flooding, roadways for evacuation. And so those could be applied island-wide. And then what this plan offers is a way to get federal hazard mitigation money to address these, voice concerns about what the federal monies look like right now, but, so far, they still have the mitigation program, so we're gonna still put forward viable programs that apply. The main thing that we're hearing from FEMA is that they're not gonna offer any more extensions on projects that are going on, so. Any that we have out there need to show progress, and so, that's kind of the way we're operating now, trying to get things done. And starting new projects, we gotta get the timelines, no more extensions. As far as evacuation plans, we are, working through the contracting process for the Waikoloa Village traffic study, which will aid in coming up with the evacuation planning. That'll help. Also, still working on alternate routes, which is under mitigation, but kind of outside of my scope as well. I would just support any added evacuations. And I know there was requests about the July 29th evacuation, tsunami evacuation. The last time we did island-wide, statewide evacuation like that was back in 2012. The population on the islands grown a lot since that time, and of course the coastal areas are where the main growths occur, and so we knew we were going to get congestion. What levels you could never tell, but we did meet the objectives. We did get everybody that wanted to get out. It was a mandatory evacuation, so everybody that wanted to get out did get out of that area. Within the time frame that we wanted, we did open up shelters and get people to shelters, and then successfully scan for any damage or hazards, and then reopen the area. So we met all our objectives. We just had our after action review. There's a lot of work that we have to do on the plan, adjustments based upon what we saw, and so yeah, it's ongoing. And I guess with that, I can take any questions about any of those subjects.
Thank you, Thomas, for your report. Jojo, questions? Anyone online on Zoom?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Talmadge, for coming to Kauai High last year. However, I don't see our requests listed in the hazard mitigation. And since that time, we got the flooding at the commercial area, and they closed up the road. And we still don't have an evacuation road for Kailapa, which is in communication now with other communities because the tsunami, we were stay at home. And this morning we had fire, and so we could not evacuate except to go back up the hill to Kohala Ranch. Now, you come all the way down, you go to the minute stop, and the policemen stop all the traffic from Kohala all the way down to minute stop in Kauai High. Then you got to turn around and go back Kohala Ranch, and then go all the way Kohala Mountain Road, come back down the hill again just to get to, you got to go all around to Waikoloa in order to come down to Waikoloa. And so we still do not have the evacuation road, but it's not in a plan. And we had put that out to you during the community meeting. So I'm wondering how come that happened. The other thing is we had a traffic safety meeting last night, the South Kohala traffic safety meeting. One of the conversations was the problem with evacuating from the hotels and the properties that are on the coastline. And it seemed that the problem is trying to go laterally, not so much up to the highways. Now, at that point, you break into two discussions. One, you're talking about evacuation, and one, you're talking about shelter. And for Kauai High's purposes, trying to get out of here, we're not in the plan again. But that was brought up with you. The one that you did not address at the meeting was the evacuation road. So we're trying to work with the communities on that at this point. The last one is this morning's fire. That was another one too, because had the wind not picked up like it did this morning, it would have went everywhere. I mean, the wind was up to 30 miles an hour. So good thing it didn't, go anyplace. The other thing is the flooding. And we did talk about that, and it flooded out Poly High since we had our community meeting with you. And, I mean, I don't know why Kauai High is not in your plan, but I really would appreciate your putting it there. And I'm glad I'm on the council right now, the CDP, so that I can bring it up again. How can you help us with that?
Jojo, thanks for the questions. You're right. We visited each of these several times. But the multi-hazard mitigation plan, sometimes it calls for specific plans, and that's one thing, but then if it generalizes in our county plan or even the state's plan, so such as the flooding. So studies for drainages or mitigation measures, because it mentions the flooding in that plan, if we can come up with a scope of work, a funding source, we could address other areas. And I believe it does mention what studies in South Kohala as well as the other districts on island. So that's one, it's not, it's still a possibility that we can address Kauai High's issue, but the thing is, it's gotta become a priority, a higher priority, so maybe showing that it impacts the harbor, might get the state more involved. Besides the, definitely life safety is critical, but not that it affects the economy of the area, that would give a little bit more ground as well. So we're gonna have to build a bigger or better justification for that project. I know you guys met last night, talked to Neil Azevedo, and he sounds positive as far as maybe supporting you guys on that escape route. So I'll kind of leave that with you guys, because he's kind of gonna work with you guys on that one.
Great, so I can contact you and we can create some kind of committee with the CDP be okay with that? Because now you gotta add on Makahuna Gulch, because that is filling up the harbor, and that also closes up the road at the harbor. None of the cargo can grow, none of the military equipment can travel. And that is recently, but our meeting with you already came up with these projects and nothing happened. And we also found out from the Council of Water Management that they're not responsible for anything on Hawaiian homeland. So all of the flooding and everything, I would think would be civil defense, because those people practically got drowned in their own mud, at Poly High flooding. So we got to find something, and I appreciate if you would do something or communicate with me. I can communicate with our community or what we got to do, because we think we did what we're supposed to do, but nothing happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo. Question from staff?
you're talking all about Harmon Farm Homeland, property only? Or is there, private property or what exactly? Driving there?
I think, Scott, if you can speak a little bit more into the mic to Jojo, please.
Sorry, no. I'm sorry, Jojo, the places that you were talking about, is that all Hawaiian homeland or is that somewhere else? And is that the Department of Hawaiian Homeland's responsibility?
Well, we ended up asking Hawaiian Homes to bulldoze the streams, okay? The other one, DLNR, did the stream portion across from the national park, but it's in the harbor now where everybody used to fish, throw their line in the water. But now it's low tide, Ikipaki car. It's all full of, all of that erosion. And this is all from last year. And so that is DLNR. And it goes across the state highway. So that's state. But civil defense. So that's why we invited him to talk to the community about how to, because the traffic all comes from North Kohala. And then it ends up in South Kohala, but not only our district, we talk in North Kohala district as well. And if you work at the harbor and you're normally gonna come from Waimea or Waikoloa, now you're talking one district, right? South Kohala district. So it's a mixture of all kinds of issues. It's a bigger issue than just our community because it involves everybody else that comes to our community. And that's why we need some help. And I'm requesting that help for this civil defense portion. We're not even on the plan. We asked to be on the plan, but we're not there.
Thank you, Scott, for your question, and Jojo for a follow-up. Julia has a
yes,
question.
Tom, you had mentioned something about projects and moving forward with, the theme of with the money and the situation in today's day and age in Washington DC and whatnot. What projects that you purport might fall through the cracks that were that you can list or address that we might not meet the timeline on so we can be prepared for these?
So it kind of has to do with 2018 lava flow. So like 7 years into it,
Okay.
probably asked for several extensions and several projects. One that comes under my responsibility is the land mobile radio, the county radio system. So we've got to replace a radio repeater that is on the Puna geothermal site, and that's got to go on, by next July. That's I think we're working on a second extension on that one. So, we got two others that are in place working on Highway 137 that has been started. I think we finish something next year, and as well as the Kohala Road. So the projects related to disaster assistance.
Okay, so our minutes on the CDP is gonna be included in the civil defense for next year, plus the Kauai High community comments will also be included. Is that how that works?
Jojo, I think we need to recalibrate what you're asking. And so to kind of to round about what you're trying to accomplish, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that it impacts directly to our action committee on a decision to make a recommendation to the county, whichever entity it is, to support what you're asking for. So what I'd like to request at a follow-up meeting is actually a report in regards to pages to the actual South Kohala CDP, what you're asking. To clarify what you're seeking, because if you claim that nothing has been done, based on the 6 Kauai community plan and the actual action plan on page 113, it starts. I'd like to recommend that you highlight a special 6.12 development patterns and land use, and kind of sectionize or highlight a subsection of what you're trying to ask. Because according to what I'm trying to brainstorm in my mind is, Manuel explained there's 42 critical projects, but we don't have access and it's island-wide, I think, for FEMA funding that is asking for projects.
Will
Yes.
do.
Yes,
And for the county, so some of the difficulty is if it's state or DHHL land, those entities have to take on those projects.
that's correct. Thank you very much. And so that's why, Jojo, the question from Scott says was, whose responsibility is it on DHHL? Because what I would not want is there's so many entities and part of what all the different portions are naming in the Kauai High sub-district that you're identifying. I think we need to clarify on, one, the location and whose Kuleana is it to touch it, and what outcome you are seeking. For example, DHHL, we can write a letter in recommendation to support your evacuation route based on the fire request of the community. And so if we can do it that way, I think we maybe table it for now on your ask of the committee. And with your recommendation, we can discuss it at the next follow-up, if there is a follow-up
Great.
report from me, because your meeting just occurred yesterday, so I don't believe he may have had time to put a report together, especially getting Department of Transportation together and all the entities that can have contribution to what you're asking. So I think just to give it a fairness of timeliness, that we can table it, what you're asking, put it in define, highlight the subsection that it's impacting in the action committee within the Kauai High, Kailapa District, South Kohala, community, and kind of pinpoint where you want us to tag and follow up on as an action committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jojo.
I think, I'm sorry, Kevin.
Okay. Kevin, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Magna. Thanks for coming to the meeting. I have two questions. I'll just ask them one at a time. One question that we've brought up before is coordination of evacuation plans for the resorts and the housing developments along the coastline, South Kohala. I wanted to know if you had I haven't been able to read this plan in detail, so I just wanted to ask you, is there an intention to collect the evacuation plans from all of those, the resorts and other housing developments along the coast and coordinate them centrally through civil defense so that those plans make sense with each other, and then perhaps put them in a place where the public can view those plans for those resorts so we know what's going to happen when there is an evacuation?
I'll tell you what we do. So we do work with the security groups with each property. And we share with them that, yeah, it would be wise of them to have plans like we do each community. We have templates from FEMA and others that have been developed to support folks to come up with their own plans. We won't write plans for people, for private entities or communities, but we'll definitely support them. We'll review them to make sure things are consistent. And then, you know, just to ensure that they have plans. We have met with the resorts as far as, you know, what happens during fires, what happens during tsunami, other events where they might have to evacuate. And they have different plans all over the place. And I found out that one didn't even have a plan. And so, you know, we'll definitely work with them. But, you know, as far as share with the community, that's gonna be up to them. What they wanna do. We just make sure that what they bring is viable and not in conflict with the county's money.
But if a quick thought, would you support, like if you know, the county were, say, to have an ordinance that required coastal resorts to have tsunami evacuation plans? Would that be something that you would, and that those be, you know, submitted to civil defense? Would that be something you would support?
I think so, I would think by you just doing better business, that you'd think that would be something you have automatically, right? Since you're taking care of maybe a couple thousand people, you're responsible for them and their welfare, so. But if it needs to go to that level, so be it, but I think that group that did not have a plan, I'll definitely reach out to them to make sure they're working for it.
Okay, thank you. We ask because, obviously evacuating all of those resorts up to Waikoloa Village is, or up to Waimea has a big impact on the local communities. So it's good to have those coordinated. I have a second question, which is related to the harbors. And so I know that there are a number of, South Kohala residents that have either they work down at Honokaha Harbor or they have boats down at Honokaha. Also for Kauai, a smaller harbor, but similar. When the tsunami warning came out and the Coast Guard directed evacuation of the harbors, the vessels, it was just a total mess down there at the harbor. And I wonder if there's a plan to create, say, some better management of how an evacuation order affects the harbors directly, including the vessels in the harbors. I know there's state harbors, but we have to work together on this.
And this is, well, thank you for bringing this up. It's kind of the first step. I've heard that it was a mess, but yeah, I can see where that happened, especially in the island with so much small vessels in there. We understand that the major harbors like Hilo and Kauai, it's the U.S. Coast Guard that is responsible for those areas, and that DLNR is for the small boat harbors. And we are in our after action review portion. I think, all the discussion about the harbors were the landside activities, evacuations, so we definitely can follow up with the ocean side and see what we can do to improve things.
Thank you.
We have one comment from the public. You wanna hand the mic?
Christie, I got one more, but,
Yeah, hold on, if you could state your name, go ahead.
My name is James Call. I had a couple of questions. One was, during the traffic safety meeting, they said that there were, loading and unloading vehicles from the harbor. And we went up past the the monument there, Kohala. Yeah. And they parked on the side of the road. So is it possible to get like them to stage it somewhere else, like in the industrial area? So they have like a plan to go in the industrial area, because that's like over 100 feet up already, right? So they wouldn't be affecting, the traffic flow in the area around there. And also that, the equipment is valuable because in the case, if it gets damaged, then you don't have any way to get food and water and whatever, supplies to the community if there's damage. So I think that's very important. And also, we have these emergency shelters. I was wondering if we could put up signs directing people to the emergency center or the shelters, so that, I live up here, so I'm not gonna be affected by the tsunami but maybe earthquakes or hurricanes or something like that. So people can be directed to the shelter, just like from each road that we, like Pukalani Road, that we direct you to the shelter, and Malamalahoa Highway coming from the south, coming up. We could have signs like that stating that this is the way to the shelter, so people would know where to go instead of guessing.
Could I clarify, would it be permanent signs or like those digital signs?
Permanent ones, just like a small one, just
Like the elevation level changes, the one that they put on the side of the highway?
well, like a speed limit sign, something like that, like it says.
Like the tsunami evacuation sign. Like the tsunami evacuation sign, yeah. The only reason why I'm asking is because I'm gonna ask who will pay for them.
Make them on two up. Put them on the text, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Tong, for your suggestions. Bambi has a question, Jojo, before yours. Go ahead, Bambi.
Yep.
Sorry, Jojo, we first. Okay, so I have a question in regards to the resort and the tsunami evacuation. Did you, and I just want to confirm this, did you advise the resorts to evacuate? Or did civil defense advise the resorts to evacuate?
Yes, this is a mandatory.
It was, okay, just wanted to confirm. And so because we are still in tsunami season up until November.
Tsunami season is
I-
still out. Hurricane season goes to the end of November.
Oh, hurricane season, okay, but being that we still have to possibly evacuate, is it something that you guys are gonna address right away? Because I was in the resort area, and in one of our security meetings, it was addressed that if we had a tsunami, that we may or may not have had to evacuate. And then that day, at the last minute, we were told that we had to evacuate. And I think it wasn't chaotic. I think the hotels did their best, but I think if there's something concrete for them to follow, if that's what we have to do, if we have to follow the directive, it may be a little more organized. And I say that because I also live in Kohala, and in the past, having to go home, to rush home to get my boys was very, very hard for me to get home. But I live right on the ocean, and speaking for people who live on the ocean and have to come from the resort area and have to wait because we're evacuating people off of the resort area, it's kind of scary. And it's hard to be able to keep sane and get home in a safe manner and not go crazy and think about having to get your family and then evacuate up. So I think there's a lot of people who have to go through that. A lot of people from the resorts who are having to fight through traffic because the resorts are sending people up and to the evacuation shelters and telling them to just evacuate up and wherever. If that's something that we can address right away so that we, the resort, can have a better plan made for ourselves, I think that would be awesome. I think that would be something that we should think about right away, or you should think about. Please.
Since we are on that topic, I'd like to, sorry, Jojo, I'd like to put an extra comment in there. It also needs to be a recognition of the community as an individual where you are in the time of this situation. And I think the awareness of the communities or as an individual on where to go and how impacted you would be if you do have an employment in these low-lying areas. I think it, to me, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because I oversee the members at Monaco Beach Hotel and the Western Hapuna Beach Prince Resorts. Now, the consideration we need to take into consideration is the communities that have plans that is an extra to the resort, not necessarily guests, but homeowners that do reside in these extended communities like the condos and the homes in those areas. I do agree with Danny that needs to be more clarification in concrete to define where those people will go. I mean, it wasn't an issue for us just because we're above the Mamalawa highway and they're okay in a tsunami situation, but in the lower lying areas, a mass evacuation, if there could be a staggered system to say if you're in a red zone, you do this on this certain time, and it's a good thing that we have improved technology where we could be more up to date in regards to a mass evacuation plan. Now we know that there's gonna be a new evacuation facility behind the Shuli Park. That's kind of what Mr. Kong, when you asked about directives, I think people also should be, when they're staying and visiting, they should know where they gotta go to. And so not just make ownership on the responsibility of the resort, it should be where they're going and kind of being more or familiar with where they're actually residing should an evacuation happen. It's just like when you go right on cruise ship and they already kind of explaining what will happen, X, Y, and Z, right, in case of an emergency. So, in some policies at the hotels, they do have a very defined plan, and I'm glad that they do that. But I'm not sure who doesn't have one. But I think more now we have to recognize because of the growth of population in these resort areas, it needs to be, there should be a staggered time frame, like red, yellow, green. If you're in the red, you go now. If you're in the green, you can wait a little bit more longer. Kind of mitigate that traffic that kind of just stagnant anywhere, right? And so on that note, but thank you for your effort. Jojo, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think Kevin brought it up, and that is clarify evacuation routes and separately where the evacuation shelters are. I think it's two different things. So, where are you gonna go to shelter? And the evacuation route, if you can add that into this plan. I'm just adding on to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't sit at the Department of Transportation meeting, but, we did talk, I did have a talk with, Tim Richards and James Eustace in regarding to possibly having a one-way flow. Because all the traffic in Moynell was clear all the way to up to Saddle Road that day. But it was stuck down at Ouli, down at Haliola Street, Wailua Drive is all the way into town, going up to town, but there was nothing coming down from town. So I think just reviewing the action of everybody, I was, it was, yeah, so Scott, yeah, and then it's kind of like, you wish that you had, you wish that you had those, you know, those black strips they put across the street, these compound people cars pass. You wish you had it on that day because it's like, I think that would be a good information purposes that you can tag this street, use this much people pass through here. You know, kind of start a data collecting thing, so I don't know, it's just me thinking outside the box. But I think we're having a really awesome discussion about it. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I do have.
Okay, Owana, go ahead.
So I was the receiver of all of these evacuees up here because I run a place here. Anyhow, so in my with the plan I have, right, that's gonna be in force is that I'm gonna keep my area open for those of the low line, right? Because I had over 200 phone calls that evening from tourists, visitors, as well as residents. So here I am putting ahead my community first. So in the next evacuation, I'm gonna allow that to be for me and my property is open up for our low-lying residents, okay? And I think what would be a great idea, I mean, something you may want to take back to the county as well, and state might want to even follow through that. The point of contact for all of these guests, visitors, will possibly be on the television or on the plane, right? When you have all the infomercial and everything on there, if you can have something like that, you're visiting Hawaii Island, it is known for XYZ, just in case something happens, this is your point of contact. This is what you need to do, right? Because I became the point of contact up here in Wailea. And when they asked me where to go, I sent them to Kalani Shu because that's what I thought it was, right? And then lo and behold, it's here. And then the church opened up their area as well. And then the county person who was here closed down at 12 and said, oh, we can take all the people over there. And then they became inundated with people. So the clarification of that I think is good because at 12 o'clock when they kept calling me, when people kept calling me for rooms, I said, you know, you can just go back to your hotel, nothing paying. I mean, you know, and so I think that's something to take into consideration, right? Is to make it easier for us here residents and giving that information point of contact when we get off the plane. And then also solidifying where these evacuation centers are, exactly, you know, who is gonna be the contact to open it up, right? Because I think it took an hour and 15 minutes before we found out that the community center here was gonna be the point of contact. And that was, and I saw the stress on people's eyes, right? And I even had a Four Seasons guest coming up and wanna pay triple for a room, but I was not gonna do that. Right, first come, first serve. But just those things, I think if we really take into careful consideration, it would help us great deal with just evacuation, like she said, right? Green zone, red zone, what happens, so on and so forth, but yeah. And you're saying money is an issue as well, right? In your area or in what you do, like the funds?
So we're always looking for, you know, money. But you know, a lot of the comments, I'd like to follow up on is the community always comes together.
Right.
Yeah, so we always, no matter who it is, whether it's private, faith-based, the government, everybody opens up and takes care. So, that's just Hawaii style. I think that's nationwide what happens, maybe hopefully even globally. But we seem to get by that way. But a lot of stuff that you guys mentioned, we're working on. We do have QR codes that we try to get the tourists to sign up for our messaging as soon as they're here. Then they can start getting our emergency messaging and they can take it off when they just leave. So we're finding out through our after action that the education we gotta ramp it up, we gotta continue it because there's a lot more information that people need and a lot more, I guess, nuances of evacuations, no matter what disaster that we gotta work through.
And the only reason why I bring this up, right, respectfully, is because what is not gonna be the last earthquake we're gonna see from Russia. And it just might be bigger than what we had before, right?
We just had an 8.0 to the Drake Passage.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
safe. So,
Well, I mean, it's still gonna come, you know, and to be rather prepared than to, planning stage, just kind of get rid of it, right? Okay, but just wanted to know, solidify where that community center would be. So that way, because I'm planted in the community and I see both sides, right? Both our visitors and our residents. Where can I traffic them to?
okay, so the shelters, as we call them, the county Parks and Recreation is our go-to. American Red Cross, they are mandated to run shelters as well. So those are our two entities to open up our shelters. We utilize community centers or county gyms. We'll utilize DOE sites, mainly for hurricane events because they got a little bit more structure in those facilities. So, and we don't advertise them because we don't open the same shelters all the time. And so the problem with putting up shelter signs is that everybody's gonna expect that they're gonna be open. So our policy is basically, when we designate a shelter, push it out through our emergency messaging, push it out over the radio so people know where to go.
And where can we get the information from on this island? Because as much as I love watching the news, I don't care what goes on Oahu Island, I don't care what goes on here.
Right.
Like, where can we get that information here?
So if you go onto the county website, go to the civil defense page. We try to make it a one-stop shop. You can sign up for our Everbridge messaging there. And at the same time, sign up for the police's messaging there. So that Everbridge message that we send out will always have that information. It'll have the alerts, what is, happening, the updates, any shelters that are open, road closures, whatever is affecting the community, we'll put that information on it. We even have a hazard map on that webpage that'll show the different shelters.
That's
Yeah.
really nice, thank you. All right, what's your name again?
Talmadge Magno.
Oh, Michael, oh, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
sure.
What, Mr. Kong, go ahead.
I had a question about, can traffic light signal cameras, do they have cameras there? And could they be used to monitor the traffic flow? Oh, okay, yeah, that was my question, but it was kind of interesting.
Thank you, Julia?
I just want to add from the tsunami we had, in Waikoloa, didn't know that the school was open and I was on the telegram with Vibrant, and they never told us the Waikoloa school was open. And I found out later that Cindy Kester had found out about it, but I didn't know, and Waimea's calling me to get cots, like rollaway beds, and I'm like, we have nobody from Red Cross in Waikoloa. So I turned around, I called my guy from Honolulu, and then I finally called Janice, and I said, somehow we need to get these cots out of the surf room, and with intentions of coming up to Waimea. And then I called somebody and they said, oh, Waikalua is up, we had 440 people at the school. And the first people came by accident because they wanted to use the restroom according to the principal, they didn't even know that it was open. And
So it wasn't open.
It wasn't open.
We did not designate that site initially, so people just showed up there.
correct,
And then like you said, the principal was there.
Mhm.
She opened it up for them and it became a shelter.
correct. I think Cindy Kester find out this, I think. Yeah, because she posted something on next door, somebody said, and I figured it came from CERT, but Vibrant didn't know, I guess, once you guys were all in the same room, I pretty much.
Yeah, once it was activated,
Okay,
we officially designated
yeah, okay, cool. So we had to reroute and just say, no, we gotta keep the cops here, and we can't send your So bad, anyway, so it's kind of interesting.
So what, at one point, what did you guys, so you guys was at, I texted while this whole thing was going on, I texted, Tim and Jen. So when they was at the EOC, yeah, when would did you guys add that Waikoloa to it? You guys wouldn't add it to the evacuation shelter location, or you guys just would be a community entity opening it up?
We can add DOE sites or county sites any time. We've got a little bit more procedure to go through with the DOE sites as far as inspection and so forth before they give us the key, because they want it back in the same condition. But yeah, we utilize the sites all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Let's take Kendra. You can say your name, sorry, I just said it because Julia said it, but go ahead.
It really is Kendra. So
Okay.
right. I actually work for James Sousa, but just a couple of things. First, Talmadge is certainly correct. The school was never open, so to speak. There was information that came up from the resort area that brought people to Waikoloa. And between the principal of the school, as he said, and then the superintendent, they decided that they could handle opening the school. And unfortunately, Talmadge was probably one of the last people to know in those very hectic 15 minutes that we were adding that as a site. And at that particular point in time, there was really no way to stop the resorts from sending us people, because the resorts were actually driving vans up to the Waikoloa school and dropping people off. Some of those people also came from the airport. They weren't even able to check into the hotel area with their luggage, came from the airport, or some of them couldn't get their luggage at the airport and just came on up. Civil defense is great about it. It isn't the normal site for them. But at that point in time, you have to decide between the rules and reasons why it's not designated a site and what you're going to do for your fellow men and women. And so that's why the superintendent and the principal made the decision that they did, was to be helpful. But there are many, many concerns with civil defense, and I'm not speaking for Talmadge, I learned this from them. But there are many things that they have to decide. What happens if someone gets injured in the facility and there's not a representative there appropriately? What happens if there's damage to the facility? What happens if someone becomes ill? So there are many concerns in designating a facility as a shelter, but at that particular time, that moment, in that emergency situation, that's how the school got open. That's how we were able to get a few cots from Vibrant. That's how we had community representatives who brought blankets and pillows and blow-up mattresses and food and beverage to the people who were there. And then on the back end, when civil defense did know, of course, they were very supportive of it. But he's aware of all of that. All of those things will come up in conversation in their recap. But again, just to make sure everyone understands, it was never actually originally designated as a shelter. It was happenstance that it ended up that way.
Thank you, Kendra. Last one.
Did any of the CERT team members, the community emergency response team, get activated?
Things are happening so quick, And, I don't think so. I don't think we even had them in the EOC. What we found was, as we started trying to, I guess, take care of needs and so forth, that the gridlock was delaying everybody from getting places. So that's something that we came up for, that we gotta deal with, and it's kind of prompting us to pre-stage different items that we found that we needed to have for us, or be able to share and so forth. So to answer your question, I don't think we had time to get CERT activated.
Thank you for your answer. Is there a time frame that you guys would have to report to the community on your post-tsunami evacuation plan? Or is just a ongoing in the works kind of thing? Like, would there be a public report on the July 29th event?
So we do produce a after action report, but that is not generally public available.
I guess in my brain, I'm trying to think how as the action committee, we could submit a letter of recommendation to the mayor seeking a report that could be transparent with the concerns addressed in today's meetings. But we would have to table that for the next agenda and kind of, or we can make the motion to.
So if you wanna just, you kind of did it already, when you kind of drafted it right now, then that can be like finalized with planning staff. As long as you guys all vote on it.
Okay.
If you just kind of give the idea, make the motion for what is gonna be said in the letter. And then we can use that general language within the letter and then send it for signature after a vote of approval.
Okay. Any more further comments or questions on the discussion on the agenda item number 1?
I just had one. Well, a lot of my questions were already asked already, so I'm the same.
Yes, Scott.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But I did contact you one time about other shelters in Waimea and other entities that could house people temporarily. Actually, I've gone ahead and contacted several of them, and they are in discussions among themselves as to how they would handle that situation if they were called upon by the civil defense. But for the most part, they're open to being able to help. I talked to Department of Hawaiian Homeland for the Kohala. And again, they are discussing that among themselves, trying to figure out how that would actually work. But they do have 12,000 square feet. They Okaina has 20,000 square feet. That's a big one. HVA, Parker School, the new one, smart building. Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, also they have that set up for the Red Cross and temporary use as well. So there's different sizes of facilities and in different areas of Waimea. Waikoloa is a little bit harder because we only have the school as a big entity to handle. But I did notice that the shopping centers were very busy up here. And getting up here, I heard, I got an earful from a lot of people about that, trying to get up and you're seeing in traffic for at least 2 hours. And so bringing that one way up, opening that up, especially Waikoloa Road, because it has the 4 lanes basically, that would be really good to look at.
No, that's great information. I kind of almost, I want to ask you if you could kind of put us together so we can talk to all those groups.
Definitely, yeah.
And then, as far as, I'll put this information out to you guys. Queen Kahu Manu Highway is out of the inundation zone. You make it to that highway, there's no threat there. So whether you're on that road stuck in traffic, no problem, just set up I guess, untouchable to be waiting that way, but. You know, there's a lot of solutions to all the concerns that were brought up today. You know, we could spend the rest of the night here going over everything that's in our plans and that we've worked out with folks, that we kind of, I think would make things work a lot smoother, but, so if we could work with those groups, you know, the private entities, especially the faith-based folks, we ask that times of emergencies, it definitely they can take care of the congregation, you know, that relieves us of taking care of those, with that population and so forth, but so. Any entity that wants to support the general population and so forth, we'd love to work with them.
Thank you. Go ahead, Julia.
I have one last question, or something I'd like to put at your feet. White Maya is going to be having the big road construction. It's gonna be going out for bid, so Kohala Road is gonna be very affected. And in the event of a tsunami or any or fire and people have to come home or whatever coming up Kohala Road, and Waikoloa Road's gonna have the roundabout built. And they're gonna be kind of almost in tandem, which is like the worst nightmare we could kind of think of. Waimea is gonna be sooner than Waikoloa, but you potentially have the two main big roads that are. You need to think about how we're gonna get around, get out here and get up here and get down there and. Just FYI, thanks.
Thank you. With no further comments or questions, I'd like to, if the committee would make a motion based on what the recommendation of the chair was earlier that was said, there would be the motion would be to request the action committee to put in writing a letter to the entities that we have discussed and addressed today on how we can better communicate vice versa with civil defense and all the other entities that have a part in any evacuation plan.
Second.
Oh, gotta be make a motion first, or did I make the motion? As the chair, I can make a motion, I don't think so.
You know, that's not ideal, but you technically.
Okay, we're learning, so it's good for us, right? So, okay, I called for the motion, Jojo has seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Talmadge, for coming and supporting our communities, action committee, and the community, and all your civil defense and the county has done for its communities.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Just to clarify, that motion was also from like you're also including your previous statement where you were requesting a report.
Yes.
Or something, okay.
The report that we would like to see post.
Those two verbs together to draft to something, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Good job, sir. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Grab a donut on the way out. Or two. Okay, if there's no further discussions, we'll move on to the next agenda item, number 2. In regards to the Kailapa Firewise Evacuation Plan update. Committee member Jojo Tanimoto will provide an update on the Kailapa Firewise Evacuation Plan. Jojo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The one that we were talking about is the Kailapa subdivision to the Kohala Estate subdivision and through Kohala Ranch up to Kohala Mountain. Well, we had a chance to talk with Mr. Azevedo off the record, and his idea is to put us back on the Akonipule Highway and make a second exit out of that subdivision, except the State Department of Transportation has increased the speed, number one. Number two, the speed goes over a mountain, so it becomes a visual impact. And we've asked the state to make the speed slower and they are not doing anything about it. So that's about a 6-month program that we've been trying to work with the state. And Mr. Azevedo finally came to our meeting. So we want to thank them for at least hearing it, and they're going to be working at it. But today's experience with the fire, and you cannot use the harbor route, where do we go? We got to go back to Kohala Ranch and up to the Kohala Mountain. So, I don't know, we got a lot of talking with them. We're open to talking with them. But it's something that we've been waiting for a long time. I know it got brought up in 2000 at the at the South Kohala Traffic Safety Commission, and we're still working at it. So we tried getting Hawaiian Homelands on board. They have not responded. So we're asking for help to get Hawaiian Homes on board. Now, the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization installed fencing, and they fenced the Kailapa subdivision around the whole subdivision. And it was supposed to include a gate so that we could escape. Never happened. And they say not going to happen. So we don't have an evacuation route there. As for the harbor is in plans to expand. And in case any of the bridges break on the way to the harbor or leaving the harbor, with the amount of vehicles having to go over the bridge from Kohala all the way down through our community. And if you're going to the harbor, then it comes down the other way from Hamakua and from Hilo over Saddle Road. So the traffic is a lot more than it used to be on a 2-lane road. So we're trying to get a bypass road that has been on the Hawaiian Homes general plan since 1990. And now that we got 2 small boat harbor, and we still can't get those vehicles included into a, so what we need is a lot of help. And so that's where the Firewise is going. We're all just plain fenced in, and we can't get out. And on the Kailapa side, it's county, and the county's not doing anything. And on the harbor side, it's state. And even the harbor doesn't have an alternative route in their plan to expand. So it's just, Kauai High needs all the help we can get. And that's why I had asked that at the previous meeting, to get some help in working on that so we can get some communication. We're working at it, but that's the report that I have so far. Any ideas?
Jojo, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Have you reached out to David Carnes?
To whom?
David Carnes, House of Representatives.
Have talked to him. He helped us try to figure out how to clean out the poly high flooding and all of that stuff. So yes, we talked to him. We brought it up to the senator, this one and the one before. We're still waiting. We're not ending yet, but we're still waiting, and we're still open for communication, because that's something, we got a lot more population than we did way back in 1990. And it's all coming true what the kupuna had already tried to testify at the legislature and all that stuff. It's coming on now. We can see it, so we're working at it. That's the report I got on that, and can use any help we can get.
Would you think a letter from the Action Committee to David Carnes's office as the chair of Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs
Yes,
expedite that?
yes,
Nope.
yes.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'm not so good at making the motion. I know what we need, but my wording comes out in pidgin. And that's kind of hard to be specific. But the bottom line is we need to get it done. Yeah. I mean, it came from the harbor master, who was also a descendant from before the wartime. He lived in Kauai High, so he was one of our people that came up with all of these ideas. We had the Department of Hawaiian Homeland. We had all of those expertise. And it's all in the books. It's all in documentary. It's in the EIS, and nothing happened. So this
So
is
aside from the history, what can we do now, today's day, in the present, to support your argument of nothing happening?
yes,
To find a resolution for your ask, because nothing's
yes.
happening since 1990, 2000. You've communicated that multiple entities, you reached out and nothing happened. So as the chair of the action committee, I'm making a motion on your behalf to
Wow.
write a letter to expedite the second act evacuation road from the Kailapa subdivision on behalf of the recommendation of those Kailapa residences. Is that something you would be interested in?
The funny thing about that is because everybody else that comes to the harbor, they're not the residents, and the population of residents is a whole lot smaller than everybody else's community in the South Kohala district already. So it really gets complicated when you specifically use Kauai High, because you get people from Waimea gotta come down there. You get people from Waikoloa that gotta come. Kohala, Hamakua, Kona, and even Hilo. So it's hard to be specific because it includes all those people as well.
Let me be specific. South Kohala Community Development Plan and Action Committee is who we represent today.
Yes.
Why I'd like to make
So
a
I would, so would it be okay to say the district? Because
It's
that's,
an impact to Kailapa Community Subdivision that is supposed to be supported by Department of Hawaiian Homeland. However, multiple entities that you had listed is not doing nothing. So as a remedy to what you're asking, it's a recommendation from, I guess, the thoughts in my brain, how the wheels turn, to those entities, whether it's Department of Transportation or DLNR, to help regardless for access and evacuation route for the community of Kailapa subdivision.
well, it's not only Kailapa, yeah, you got people that live on a harbor, some people that live below the commercial area. It's all Hawaiian homelands. And then it includes people from the Kauai High Village. So,
Okay,
and then
how about you go ahead and take what I recommended, put it
okay.
into your words, because anything I'm recommending to you, you countering me. So in order for us to move on with our agenda, I think it needs a little bit more thought and clarification, because I would like to see your intent of the community being heard. However, we need some, like, pinpoint a strategic plan, because there's no movement since 2000. And so how can we effectively, aside from pinpointing every other low-lying area, Kawahai Seafood Bar, any other, Kalani Trust Land, Kawahai Village, we'd like to address it on behalf of Hawaiian Homes, Kailapa Hawaiian Homes, because you're asking from your community to evacuate in your area to the Mauka Highway. And so if a recommendation to the county to have access, if those people that you said no, the Hawaii Wildfire Organization, if they make fence them, why we cannot put something or a clause in there to support it to say they must or mandated to, for safety purposes, for mass evacuation should a fire occur?
Thank you. Can you use all of that? I will agree to that for my motion. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bambi. There's been motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Kong, go ahead.
They say that food have flowed downhill, so I I'm just saying we should go to the Department of the Interior and have them take action against Department of Hawaiian Homes. So that they're tailed off the seat and start moving. You know, you just force the issue all the way to the top and let the pool go downhill.
I don't think it is Hawaiian homelands because the people that live there are county residents. Hawaiian Homes own the land, but doesn't make them responsible. And we pay taxes like everybody else, and that's why I'm bringing it to the county. And if it has to be in this fashion, then I'd like to start here because we're still open to getting an evacuation route for safety for the people, for the county people. The other subdivisions past us, they have a route to get out. It's us that's stuck in Kailapa. How is that?
Well, what I'm saying is that the Hawaii Department of Hawaiian Homes Lands is under jurisdiction of the Department of the Interior as per the Hawaiian Homes Act. So if you pump the request to the Department of the Interior, then they'll pump it back down to the Hawaiian Homes. Now you're getting a superior authority telling them what to do.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Kong. At this time, the motion is on the floor. It's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor of supporting the motion as vocally say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jojo, for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda item is public testimony on any other, oh, sorry, am I reading the right thing? Next on the agenda is Kauai High Site Preservation. Committee member Jojo Tanimoto will provide an update on site preservation efforts in Kauai High. Go ahead, Jojo.
Oh, okay. Well, we're working with the Cultural Resource Committee, and we had 2 meetings so far with the community. The second one, everybody was busy, I guess. So, and they came late or they didn't come at all, but they are lineal descendants. And now we're going to expand it to a 3rd meeting and include Hawaiian homelands because, like you say, it's on Hawaiian homelands, but it's also part of the NAGPRA law, and it's also part of the state historic preservation, except the state historic preservation has no quorum. So the Burial Council has not met in quite some time, as well as the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but we will be inviting them. Well, we asked to invite them to the 3rd meeting, which is coming up, and I don't have a date on that. Maybe the Cultural Resource Committee might have more information.
I just want to
Miriam.
just add to what Auntie Jojo was saying is that, Auntie Jojo went in front of the Cultural Resource Commission. We kind of shared what Auntie Jojo's been sharing at our committee meetings, and the commission decided to form a permitted interaction group. So they formed the permitted interaction group. Now that group is beginning to work offline and coordinating, and I believe planning reached out to Auntie Jojo to get a list of names that she had. They're also going to reach out to that permitted interaction group and to continue following. So the idea is that they will eventually go and do another site visit with the permitted interaction group and any other stakeholders that they want to work with. And from there, just like with the ACs, CRC, with the same sunshine law, they'll work on this report. Once they're ready to present their report, it will go on the agenda. After they've presented the report and what their advisement is, then they'll have a subsequent meeting and actually take action on that. I think the idea is basically for them to look at the area, especially the sites that Jojo listed, and to put together in the report some recommendations to the relevant agencies that might be, that might have a stake in those areas. So that's where that's at. It's pretty.
Yeah, to add to that, the South Kohala CDP document only lists some of the historic preservation. The rest are not there for whatever reason. So we want to make sure they get included, which means you got to update the CDP document. You can find them in the Bishop Museum. You can find it in the website. You can find it, they've all been documented in the past. They're just not listed, And before the state the state highways division has some plans for the historic bridges in Kauai High, and I mean all 6 of them. And the most important would be the 3 going to the harbor. We also have plans for development on Hawaiian homelands, but they're not indicated in the updated versions or even the first versions of the regional plan for Kauai High. And we don't have it, complete with the historic and the NEGPA and all of those guys, even though it's historic, but way back to Kamehameha and before. So Kauai High is kind of really needs to be identified. And we're asking the CDP to update that identity listing. And that's where it all started from, right, Marianne? Thank you.
So that was the rationale that we used to get on the CRC agenda, was using the, some of the verbiage in the CDP, the Southwest CDP, along with, there's a table that lists about 9 or 10 sites. And so at the bare minimum, it would be the request that they push forward a letter that recommends amending that list and update it. But we all probably know Kauai High is covered with sites, so just, for them to give their advice.
Thank you for your report, Jojo. Thank you, Miriam, for your input.
Thank you.
Follow up. Is there a way we can table this discussion until the meeting concludes and listen to the PIG do a report and then support their action?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jojo. Okay, so we will wait for the report on the PIG and then make some action at some point and put it on the agenda again in the future. And just keep that as a priority for one of your priority lists come January 1st.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other further testimony? Hearing none, we can move on to the agenda. Item number 4, Waimea Community Center rehabilitation. Vice Chair Scott Nagata will provide an update on the rehabilitation of the Waimea Community Center. The floor is yours.
Okay, just quickly, the project for the Waimea Community Center, which we're in right now, the Parks Department did put it on their CIP, if I'm correct. Is that,
Yeah, so it's.
or I don't know what year.
So it's listed in the capital improvement, project budget. However, it was listed, what we were told by Parks is that it's considered under their listed budget item of park maintenance. So it's just a general catch-all that Parks puts in every year. And clarify that the CIP list is not a guaranteed list, it's commonly referred to as the captain's wish list, right? So it's up to departments to prioritize and advocate for those funds. From what we spoke with Parks Planner, they are working with an architect, sketching or drafting the new roof. And possibly I've heard different variations, but possibly also the windows and some of the siding or something like that. But definitely the roof is the priority.
Okay. Yeah.
As we all look at the ceiling.
As we all look at the ceiling. And we take a look, we did another with the recreation director, this afternoon.
Oh, you did it already.
We
Okay.
did it already. It's okay, we can do it another moment.
Okay.
We're not-
I was gonna say we could say it afterwards.
Well, yeah, so basically, like, there's work to be be done in the back because they are not ADA compliant. So this side of the roof, I think like 70 feet or so down is just, it's that and it's just a flood, it's just leaks through. So hence these are meeting on this side of the building, just in case they were to rain tonight. So what we had spoken with deputy director and park planner was the potential of coming into a Friends of the Park agreement. And so Scott was proposing, you know, we can get community members together, we can do painting, we can like look at little things that we could do that's not, you know, patching a roof or this roof, you know, but after talking with the recreation director today, his advice was really like that unless you fix the roof, everything else is kind of just gonna be subjective.
That's what I wanted to ask. They,
So that's what kind of he was saying, I know technically we were given like loopholes of like, well, if we find someone to volunteer to patch the roof. I think as we see it today, I think we, you know, it's a little different than what we're talking about. So I think my recommendation and the recreation director's recommendation was maybe to advocate for this to be a priority project, because once they have gotten the drawings from the architect, the next step would be to allocate money to actually start this process. And if, once it started, it'd probably only take a year, is what we were told. But there's no guarantee of those funds, finance hasn't given those funds to parks yet, so. That's something I recommend to the committee is that maybe they just push forward a letter advocating that this center be prioritized in their list of projects. And
Can it be listed as a safety project?
as a safety hazard, I wanna throw in other pieces that we've gathered when talking to the rec director. He said over 100 to 150 people touch this center every day.
Yeah.
So the schools use it, HPA, Parker uses it. It's, as we heard earlier, it's a shelter. And so what are the other partners that we might be able to tap into to help advocate for this? Civil defense, I mean, is there other money that we could help support civil defense and reaching into disaster preparedness?
Can you make it friends with the Benio? No.
I mean,
Off the record.
the Friends of the Park initiative was shared that sometimes these little things like parks gives you a paint bucket and you go for it, you know, with the mural on the other side of this wall. And then sometimes it's huge, like it's a whole park redo, you know, you got the whole thing. And that's taken care of through that program, so it kind of, there's a lot of options and opportunities here. And it's a heavily used space, you know, by the community, it's not just right, it's day and night. So, and Waimea doesn't really have a space that's so available to them. Just throwing all those little seeds to see, but.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, another motion, sorry, there's a lot today. We have a big agenda. I'd like to make a motion to send letters to community politicians in support of safety and community use to expedite funding or request of funding approvals to fix the roof of the Waimea Community Center. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Oana, you have your original first, second, welcome. Is there any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries to write a letter to every entity that we can send one to approve or expedite funding to fix the roof of the community center, Waimea Community Center, due to safety reasons and utilization of the community. Thank you. Okay, next itemized agenda item is the Pool Co Sewer Project update, but Karen is not present today. We will skip this on the agenda if there's no public comment or questions. Do I hear any interested comment or questions? Seeing and hearing none, we can move on to the agenda. Number 6, Waimea Water Resources update. Vice Chair Scott Nagata will provide an update on Waimea Resources for Waimea. Scott?
we did have 2 meetings earlier this year for the community, that was in in cooperation with Waimea Hawaiian Civic Club. And we did have a pretty good turnout on those. People were very interested about the water in the area. So, and in doing that, we did work with the Department of Water Supply very closely on this, and at one other board meeting, I can't remember which board meeting, they bumped up their priority for the the Waikolo Reservoir #1, which is the one that's out of commission right now. So, and actually right now, they put out some initial bids to, what do you call that? Dig out the old, the reservoir to project to become useful again. They need to revise that bid, so they need to, put that back out for bid again. But, it is moving, project is anticipated to begin in the first quarter next year. So that's good news, and hopefully that will be, put back into operation very soon. So the design portion of that is $1.5 million. And the construction is gonna be $13 million. And, that's for an $8.5 million gallon reservoir. That's, in their pipeline right now. That's, on their Department of Water Supplies, capital improvement project, which is separate from county. They also, one other, reservoir that community might be interested in is the Walamilo Reservoir, which is down below on the Kauai High side. I'm not sure exactly who that is servicing at this point, but that is going to be their largest reservoir, and that's going to be 10 million gallons reservoir. So, about it for that.
Is there any motion or do we need to take an action on any item or?
They would love to get outside resources, outside funding. I have been looking on that as well. It's the philanthropic organizations that I found a couple of them. I haven't gotten any responses from them. USDA is also a big grantor. And I'm sure, I haven't talked with Department of Water Supply on that. I'm sure they are very familiar with that for their reservoirs. So.
Good job. Kudos to you, Scott. Thank you. Is there any questions for Scott?
Yeah, well, what would be, sorry.
No, go ahead. Oh, wanna go ahead. Wow. Exciting stuff, yeah.
That's very good. I'm so excited, Scott. Good job. What would be the roundabout figure you're looking for from the outside person? Just in case I come across like a billionaire and.
Billionaires, that would be awesome. Yeah. I know we have several millionaires in the area. Yeah, if you have their year, just kind of mentioned it.
Like what would be a ballpark figure? Is there a CIP written document we can refer to on the expense cost?
Not for the total project, but they do have the sludge removal portion of that. Again, they need to revise that situation, but that was like a quarter million to do that. Yeah, it's because, well, they included also their wastewater facility there. It's a small facility, but it's just, everything needs to be taken off-site and EPA, whatever regulations of that stuff does cost because of that. But they lump that all together.
That's how the philanthropic people come.
Yeah, that would be great.
Ah, I get it now.
They all welcome
I
that.
can
So,
clean all that and take away
so,
a couple $1 million over and over.
there are a couple of philanthropic water organizations. So, but I don't know. I'm just nobody asking them about this stuff. So there.
Well, you are somebody to us, so we really appreciate your efforts in researching this topic, because it's finally getting somewhere from our first beginnings about 4 meetings ago, so good job.
So, yeah, we're making some progress here on that, the water.
Julia, go ahead.
I thought that, legislation, the state legislators had put money in a reserve budget a few years ago to get this stuff worked on. What's done on with all that, and there was public comment and everything.
Department of Water is county, but they don't get county funds. So,
So,
yeah, they get it through all their fund, they apply for funding grants and all that.
Right.
But the majority of that comes from, your water bill.
Oh.
And, you know,
Yeah, just like helpful,
Right.
same thing, private entity has something to do with state and federal.
Would they put an information or educational letter in their Department of Water Supply bill so we can,
well, actually,
as a homeowner,
there
review
was
that?
one other thing, in their last, in May, in their meeting. They, in 2004, electricity was very, very expensive. So they had to do, they had to have a surplus charge to their billing. And that was, the high was $3.04 per gallon, there was the address box. But anyway, PCC, which I forget what the power cost charge per or something, I forget. But anyway, it increased to 3. This past, earlier this year, they dropped it to 232. And in May, the last meeting, they actually asked to, in the board meeting, to decrease it even further, back down to 208, which is pretty much what it was before 2004, 2023. So, there was that big bubble there, and then they brought it down, which is great, but actually, I wouldn't mind, this is me talking, okay? I wouldn't mind if they can actually keep that up just a little bit to cushion themselves for this reservoir, the 2 reservoirs. But
wasn't it FEMA involved in this? I mean, it was from the earthquake, the damage, and that was, the federal money from.
I don't know if they have any federal assistance on that. They probably have some grants, but as far as, I don't know the specific grant they apply for.
They know like the low, complicated, finding that bill was going through and the house was kind of harnessed some years ago, because we wanted to make sure that when we're gonna do the improvement, that they would have some kind of a water line that would be on the power line road from the water company up there. It's, we had fire market, although we could use it. So I just remember, this is like 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, the reservoir that they're working on has been out of commission since 2000, well, yeah, 2008, 9. So it's not even been used at all. So
2006.
2006. So it's, since then, it's been out of use, and, it's the big funny shaped one in the middle there. And, yeah, so it hasn't been used, so, they did try at one point to try and get it working again, but found that it wasn't usable anymore at that point. So that's why they're having to redo the whole thing. Yeah.
Kevin, I got a question. This is Jojo.
Go ahead.
In your estimates for capacity of water and need for water include the New Puna subdivision, the Kauai subdivision, and the new one that's coming up on the Queen Emma lands down there. They got some numbers that they're gonna put residences in there. Does that get included in your numbers? Because they're not in the Kauai High district. They fall in the Waimea district, and I'm not sure if you guys have included those subdivisions. They're gonna be big subdivisions.
When the Department of Water Supply came and presented their presentation, they said that there's one blanket fee for the whole island. Whether you're in Puna, whether you're in Waimea, or Kohala, or wherever, you still get the same rate, no matter what. They're not picking favorites and choosing who's gonna get a higher rate or lower rate. It's all one flat rate.
No, I'm asking about the capacity. Is it available? And if you have, if you included those numbers into the capacity need.
Capacity per.
I don't believe so, Jojo, and I think, the confusion, I think, Scott, is what capacity you're talking about is the increasing of homes or residential areas supply, or where the supply would come from, is that what you're asking?
Well, sort of, yeah, because we know a lot of that capacity is going to Waikoloa for the new developments that they're getting. So now to add on these three that have not started yet, but have already been accepted, I guess, by planning department, those numbers are not added onto whatever. No. So I'm wondering if maybe since it's coming down close to Kauai High, maybe we can use whatever is not going to get used. But if it's all
You
going to
actually
get
don't-
used, if they're all going to get used, I'm just looking for Kauai High to get whatever
You're
is
asking about
extra.
the Lalabilo Reservoir?
Lalabilo, the old.
Yeah, that's the question, who is it gonna serve? But,
Yeah.
Puna, I don't think it's gonna go all the way to Puna, no, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Waikoloa is private water, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not public.
Right.
Okay,
Why-
got it.
why- what is it?
Oh, so it's just Kauai High got no water.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Okay, any other further discussion? Mr. Kong?
Is there, do they have a security fence around the reservoirs up there? Or, I know at one time, it was a priority to have security fencing.
The question is there a security fence surrounding the reservoir?
I would assume, I've never been out there myself, but I would assume, and there's been hunters around the area. but-
There's signs posted
Oh, one
that says that, you could be federally prosecuted if you go on beyond a certain point. And it is like gated, like, yeah, fencing.
I would
So
assume,
I don't know if it goes around the thing, but it does fence in any area like by where people live. I've seen it.
Well, when Cindy was in the legislature, there was talk about putting cameras up there just to monitor the. So,
There's a camera at the beginning.
no, I mean, around the
Around the-
perimeter, so
no,
in case some crazies go up there and try to poison the water, right?
Thank you for that amount, that thoughts and information. Would we ask Department of Water Supply? Could we like just call the office and say, yeah,
that's an update,
yeah,
yeah, we could do that.
okay,
Is that a motion, or is that or no need, just call
I don't think no need one motion,
them?
no
Okay,
motion,
I'm
yeah.
okay with calling.
And then maybe you could give us a follow-up on to your follow-up?
Yep.
And that further discussion. Where, okay, is there any other public comment or further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, moving forward is public testimony on matters not on the agenda. At this time, we will call for statements from the public regarding items not on the agenda. Public testimony may be limited to 3 minutes in length per agenda item. If there is anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the form in the front and give it to the staff. Has there been any public? Okay, hearing and seeing no public discussion or public testimonies on any non-agenda items. Moving forward on third-party reports, government officials. At this time, at 6:51 PM, the committee will now call for statements from third-party reports by any government official not included on the agenda. Is there anyone? Kendra? Okay, thank you.
Non-government official.
Non-government official. Thank you.
But I know James wished that he couldn't be here this evening. He would certainly say welcome to the new members of the committee. Very pleased to have you. He did have a previous commitment, and that's been on the books for a while, so we had to divide this evening. and you're stuck with me. Civil defense would have been something that he would have been pleased, to see on the agenda this evening, simply because of the tsunami, and actually he and Talmadge have a meeting scheduled on Monday, to review the things that, James, saw that night. He was actually at the, emergency center, down with Merrick and everyone, in, the Kona area. And so, they're getting together on Monday and discussing some of the very things that were talked about tonight. Certainly always with Kailapa, which James is hosting an event, next week with Senator Richards in that area, and, Hawaiian Electric, to talk about many of the community concerns, the Q&A period, and definitely with the Kauai High site, preservation project. So these would have all been things that he would have been very interested in and would have liked to have spoken to tonight. The Waimea Community Center, we use this facility for our talk stories, ourselves as a county office, and, we will be pleased to know that the committee put forth a motion this evening. And, I think he would, like to see that motion expand even beyond the roof. And so, we'll wait to see what we can get and updates beyond that from him. Regarding Puako, he is, in contact with, has had many meetings with, many county meetings of late with finance department, et cetera, especially in the last month or so, working with that group there, Puako, group. And, so they are making some progress. And then Waimea Water, water is the popular word, obviously, within the last, few weeks tremendously, even beyond what Scott is reporting on. Certainly with the water issues that we have had up in the North Kohala district, water is a hot topic in all of District 9 right now. And so I know he would have been, like to have been here, Scott, to hear your report, and I took a lot of notes. And if you have those in a digital format, that you could send over to James, I know he'd really appreciate the email and, the extra information. And, I'll try to make sure that the next time you all have a meeting, that his calendar is clear so he can personally. But thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Kendra, very much. Next on the agenda is any proposal of new business.
I do.
Yeah, now,
Again,
just okay.
sorry.
Go ahead, Scott, I'm just okay.
Okay, so I would like to invite the Department of Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works.
DPW.
Okay. The Department of Public Works, or actually our own department planning, to update us about the Waikoloa Road, Paniolo intersection, progress on that. Yeah, I haven't seen any movement on that, and so I was just wondering if that's, going forward. I mean, progressing.
So we add DOT.
Is it Department of Transportation or? I think
DPW?
it's, yeah, I think it's Public Works. But yeah, and then also if there's any plans to maybe, paving the second road, the current one, the current road, second road.
How the practice run will.
It went good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's good. They're always good.
Or a different road.
The problem I had heard about the egress was when they were doing the MOUs, that they were supposed to jump to the right and the county jumped to the left, so it like kind of made it sort of, and void that they was working. See, House was working on it a couple of years ago, or a year ago, to try to see if we could do something. But then there's that on the land thing that might be into play, and permanent second road that we would have. We did the groundbreaking on a year ago, and so.
Just like we get an update, what's going on here.
I got one from Sheriff, Sharice, Connie Kai, she's been working with it, she sent me an email last week, and, because I asked her, and, it's that corner, the northeast corner parcel that guy owns, and it's Russian guy.
Are you condemning it, or we can't do that?
I don't think, it just keeps getting, there might be something else going on.
All right.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so Department of Public Works. Invite them. Doing the updates on the Waikoloa traffic situation. Also, second one, I could.
No, you only allow one.
Only one.
Just kidding. Go ahead, Scott.
I'd like to invite the Waikoloa Heights developer. They're marketing it as Nana Kai. And, that's the end of Waikoloa. And, they are presently marketing about 70 units or 70 parcels, 10,000 square feet. Their buildings, the housing buildings, is phase one. They're calling it phase one, and it's houses are between 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Some of those actually they specify as being able to have Ohana units on there, or additional family units. There are no affordable housing units on that project so far, so I'm just wondering when those come into play. Like I said, they do have those 70 plus lots that they're marketing. Prices are starting at $1.9 million. Wow. Yeah. So kind of prices out a lot of people here locally. So just kind of curious on how that's all would play. On that, I also want to ask the developer about utilities, how they're handling utilities, whether they're drawing from additional new water resources, or if it's from Waikoloa water, Hawaii water services, which I'd also like to invite at that meeting because it's in Waikoloa. And seeing how they're progressing on their water wells.
Is there a way that planning would be able to have a directive of that permitting for that project?
For Waikoloa Heights.
Yes.
Yeah, so Scott sent an email inquiring and I shared with him what they did, because this is a huge project that is planned and they have had those, I believe, entitlements for quite a few decades already, but it was recently amended. And I sent Scott the last amendment, and we can share it to the committee as a whole. But it's a pretty lengthy document, it shows all their things, so we can share that. I believe that is, pretty, ministerial, so there's not really, that I know of, and I need to go back and look more, but there's not really a public comment period, and if there was, it had passed already, so that was just by director approval, and they checked all the boxes. But the questions that Scott is bringing up, should get information on that and to see what other, because the rest of the phases haven't gone through yet, so to see what room there is to kind of tap into that project, let's see.
Is there any bills that could regulate that, because it's $1.9 million marketing, to have X amount aside for affordable? properties?
They have.
Oh, they have?
They have to have some.
Yeah, but it's not on phase one. So.
Oh, yeah, we just turned.
So that's why when does this need to play?
I see. Kendra?
I think it would be very helpful. I think Scott brings up some very good topics, all three of which have been on James's calendar for the last 2 weeks with additional meetings going forward. So based on the timing of your next meeting.
Hey, Brayden.
Again, Scott, I would ask if you would do
Hey.
me.
Jojo, you can meet your,
You watch out.
Jojo. Thank you. Go ahead, Kendra.
Scott, I would ask you a second favor. If you could send James and copy me, the list of the questions that you just asked and the departments that you would like to have come to speak to these things. I do believe that you can speak directly to all of them and in partnership with those department heads. Because there has been, information action on almost all of those. So, I will make sure that please come to the next meeting, but if you would please send me a list of your questions for this meeting, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Kendra. Any more, Scott? Julia, go ahead.
Since we're gonna be in Waikoloa, I'd like to see if we could maybe have the Department of, Parks and Recs give us an update, because it's been in our CDP book for 16 or 18 years, so we were supposed to have a community center. I get so jealous when I come up to Waimea. You guys did everything, you blew one, they did, sorry. But anyways, we still have a community center. And I saw something in Mo's office a year ago. It looked like I thought it was like a plan. And Cindy Evans was telling us for a couple of years in the evenings that they had the money and, was gonna be going, and it was gonna come in tandem with the affordable housing down there, and. Well, anyways, I just gotta get a push in on our community center. So we need.
We'll shoot them an email and see if we can get an update.
That'd be nice.
Thank you.
Is it possible to like ask the county council to make, when the developers come in for development, to make it mandatory in the first stage that they build affordable housing instead of waiting for the last stage, because it's gonna be 1.2 to $2 million for the first stage, and by the time they get to the last stage, it's still gonna be $2 million for affordable housing.
You're not gonna get to the last stage, it only exists here after you get the place. So.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Was there, someone put something in the chat?
Sorry, Tracy, that's just me. I have to sign off momentarily. So I agree with the proposed agenda items if I need to. But I'm gonna have to.
Okay, if no further agenda items as discussed, the next announcement that I have an announcement to make. And it's on behalf of, Patricia Hudson to remind the community about the Aloha Festivals. In Hawaii, the Waimea Paniolo Parade on September 20th, Saturday from Waimea Park to Kalani Shudi Park. So the closure of the roads. If you need more information, visit www.alohafestivals.hawaii.com for further info. Any other further announcements?
Just remember that there's a farmer's market on that day, so.
Farmers Market noted. Julia?
Just one quick one. I was just gonna remind everybody in their circles to get your WEMA survey done for Mayor Alameda, so you can. If that time, I think you see, he sent a copy to everybody in last.
When would the post, Laulima surveys be ready?
I don't know, they said completed by August 31st, but I don't know when the results will be. We can share that with you guys, the link,
Okay.
when that's available. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was told by the end of the year.
End of the year.
Well, they said there's gonna be towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What I think we're both.
Okay, thank you. Scott?
Okay, just a quick one. This is a community event of Waimea. It's they're looking to find causes to fund. So they don't have a lot of funds, but it's for funding different initiatives in the community, having workshops, community workshops, led by inspirational speakers. It does require a sign up, so you could go online to do that.
Okay, so it's Saturday, September 27th, 2025, Hanaoka 64-1043 Hi'iaka Street. Registration is 8:30 a.m. The summit is from 9 to 2. It's for discussion on, there's gonna be inspirational speakers, community-led workshops, sharing a vision for our future, beverages and lunch provided. Look for registration information forthcoming. And then it says the event is supported by the Richard Smart Fund of the Hawaii Community Foundation. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you bringing that. Like, any other announcements?
Did you have money for the water?
I was gonna try to ask them about that, but I mean, they don't have that kind of funding. They have for small projects.
Okay. Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion, is there a second? It's been motioned by Scott, second by Julia. All those in favor to adjourn the meeting at 7:06 PM, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Travel safely.